Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Beneath Vancouver Radio. I'm your host, Aaron. At the time of this recording, we are going through a very strong heat wave. So if you're watching this on YouTube, which if you aren't aware, all the episodes that we've done so far in season 2 are available on YouTube. So make sure to check them out if you are more into the video stuff. I am sweating up a storm, but nonetheless, I am joined today, special guest Jonathan from Pokey Okey. How are you doing, Jonathan? How are you doing with the heat? First of all, you got some water, right? I saw earlier before we started recording. Yeah, I got to make sure. I don't want you passing out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty good about staying hydrated. I'm lucky I get to be here in the AC doing this right now,
Oh,
even though a lot of my team are out in the trenches. So yeah, I'll be with them probably tomorrow.
sounds good. Yeah, you'll
Yeah.
be on the last day there, going to be
Yeah.
joining them, which is good. So, well, thank you again for taking the time to be on the show. I'm looking forward to this conversation a lot, actually, just to hear. We've done a few restaurants and a few kind of food-based businesses within the podcast here, but we haven't had a lot of those, and I want to just kind of spin into more of that because obviously here in Vancouver, we're known for, I think, a lot of the wonderful food options that we have in cuisines and everything like that. So I'm going to let you kind of take over here and start off the episode as we usually do with this question. And Jonathan, who are you today?
So today, I am the CEO of Pokey Okey Enterprises, and we are a small business that currently owns and operates 3 restaurants in Greater Vancouver. So we had our first one in Richmond,
Mm-hmm.
our second one in Burnaby, and as of 2 weeks ago, our third one downtown.
Nice.
So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at.
Sounds good. Well, very humble. I'm sure there's more to that, but let's kind of start from the beginning then. How did you kind of get involved in this? Was this always been a passion of yours? I know for a lot of people who are in the restaurant biz, as they say, owning a restaurant and food has always been a part of their life growing up. And, whether that's through family or friends, they always somehow get involved within the business. So why don't you share a little bit in terms of your background and how you actually got to, be where the position that you're at today?
Well, I think it kind of started out with my friend from high school. His name is Victor. He's our executive chef now.
Mm-hmm.
So he decided to go into the culinary field, and then this was a long time ago, like maybe 7, 8 years ago. And then he kind of went on to do his own thing, and he went to Korea, and then he went to um, he was all over the place because the thing
Right.
about working in a kitchen is pretty much anywhere you go you can find a job, right? And so
Yeah.
you can just kind of travel around and work in different kitchens. And most recently, before starting Pokey Okey with me, he was working at actually a Michelin star establishment
Mm.
in China. It's called Bo Shanghai, and it's under Chef Alvin Liang. So
Okay.
it's a pretty reputable spot, and he actually turned down a sous chef position over there so he could come and do this with me. So I
Wow.
actually,
It's a good friend.
yeah. I think I probably am just really good at um, dragging him along into
Yeah.
whatever it
There's some
is.
persuasion involved in there for sure.
Yeah. But I mean, like in hindsight, it did appear to have worked out for both of us. So I think he's happy about it now. But at the time, he thought it was pretty nuts
Hmm.
to give up what he had to go for it. So I respect him for that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Victor, if you're listening, shout out to him. And,
Yeah.
and I guess like the cuisine, was that kind of something that you had in mind already? Like how does one pick what type of food they're actually going to serve at the restaurants?
Well, I mean, like we were this is something that we talked about like over the years. We'd
Hmm.
get together. It's like, oh yeah, we should start a restaurant. It's just like a lot of people have these kind of discussions. But when I was here, I was working at a food supplier, and then it allowed me to kind of see how the trends and stuff were going. And
Right.
we like when I came across this poke thing, then I thought that um, it's kind of a how do you say an easier business for us to get into
For
because
sure. Yeah.
it's not as demanding in terms of cooking and all of that, but at the
Hmm.
same time it still provided us with an outlet for creativity too, because it's kind of the genre, I guess you could call it, is like rice bowls, right? So when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to rice bowls, there's all kinds of stuff that you can do. And actually, that's one thing that's kind of unique about our brand is we're Pokey Okey, right? We're not actually poke, we're pokey. So it gives us that extra little bit of wiggle room to kind of do what we want to do. Because
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I went to Hawaii like right around when we started the business, so I could
Right.
do some market research, or not really market research, I guess, just learning about poke and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And of course, it was really good, and I enjoyed it a lot. But at the same time, it's a very simple food, I guess. Like in
Mm-hmm.
Hawaii, usually it's just rice and then fish, and it's pretty much just that, right? Whereas
Right.
in Vancouver, it's come to be known as mainland poke, I guess. So it's more what you would expect to see is like you have your rice and your fish, but you also have like vegetables and sauces and
Toppings and stuff.
toppings
Yeah.
and all that stuff. Yeah. So
Gotcha.
um,
Okay.
and then we kind of went a little bit crazier, and we were doing like in the past some of our more luxurious items, like we did like our uni bowl, like the gold bowl, and then we did some like wagyu and lobster and all these other things just
Mm-hmm.
because we felt like it, right? So
Yeah. Hey,
yeah.
give it a shot, right? I mean, if it
Yeah,
works, it
yeah,
works. If it doesn't, then you can kind of pivot and stuff like that. So
yeah, yeah.
when you mentioned obviously at the beginning that the Richmond was the first location. How long ago was that? Was the first location opened?
So that was in 2018.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
about 3 years ago. So let's
yeah.
go back 3 years. You're with yourself, Victor, and the rest of your team as well. Like, what was the first couple of maybe months and stuff like that in terms, besides maybe Victor, who has restaurant experience and has, has been on that side of the coin. Was everyone else on the team kind of could help guide the ship, so to speak, or was it kind of like, we're just gonna go with the flow, see what happens, and then hope that it sticks?
Well, I mean, in the beginning, yeah, it was just me and Victor, and we were we hired one other person, and his name's Kenny. So
Mm-hmm.
he was our first employee, and then now he's a partner and CFO, I guess. So
Yeah. Shout out Kenny.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, so it was just like the three of us kind of just working from open to close every day, and then we were
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, we should probably start hiring some people, and then yeah, I guess we kind of just after we were able to establish like a better team and like get people trained up and stuff, then it kind of freed us up to start working more on the business and
Mm-hmm.
working on building the brand and
Yeah.
finding new locations and stuff like that. But we did spend a significant chunk of time working together in the kitchen, and that's kind of I guess where it all started in a way.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's just three friends, three, partners all just working together. And I think that's the beauty of it. And I like how you also mentioned like the aspect of hiring people, right? And at the end of the day, giving the reins or handing aspects of the business to other folks and people outside from the founding team, if you will, because that's when you start to scale, right? That's when you start, as you said, finding the time to actually building the brand, building the operation, seeing what could improve, how can we make this better, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I know for a fact, a lot of the people that I've had on this podcast who are business owners, that's sometimes the part that they struggle with the most, is because you're so passionate about it, you always want to be kind of in there, but then sometimes that can even hinder the growth of whatever business that you're trying to do. So I'm happy to hear that you found that at an earlier time than maybe some other people who maybe 5-10 years down the road, they're still like, no, I got to do everything, and they're why isn't this growing, and
Well,
stuff like that.
like at the end of the day, like as the first, as the owner and the first operator, and you're gonna be better at doing any given task than anybody else, right? Because you
Mm-hmm.
have all the knowledge and skills and experience, but you kind of have to force yourself to, give it to somebody who might not do as good a job of you as you in the beginning. Eventually, once they get the experience and the training, they can get to hopefully close to where you are. But you have to make that leap, and it's something that a lot of business owners don't think about until much later, right? So
exactly. Well, speaking about leaps, you had mentioned again at the beginning of the episode, you just recently opened your location downtown a couple weekends ago. I actually saw a lot of influx of social media. I think you guys were doing like a big giveaway or something along those lines. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. I mean, we did our free poke event, so we just we gave like medium size, like full meals, just to anybody who showed up for 2 days, and I think we had like around 1,200 people show up.
I saw the lineups. They were looking pretty long. Might I add. So no, that's good, man. And I'm happy to hear, obviously, that went successful. But the times that we're in, obviously, at the time of this recording, we're still nearing the end. Hopefully, knock on wood, of COVID's pandemic and stuff like that. And what was kind of the thought process behind thinking to yourself, we're going to open now a new location, at the times where, some restaurants might be struggling and stuff like that. Was it something that was even pre-COVID already in the thought process or in the pipeline, or kind of maybe just share a little bit in terms of your thoughts and of opening a new location, during these times?
Well, I mean, when we opened the first restaurant, we already had, more restaurants in mind in the future, right? And then when we started working on the second one, which was in Burnaby,
right,
like COVID wasn't a thing yet. It took us like almost a year to get it done. And then it just so happened, like, actually when we did the grand opening for Burnaby, it was like, a week or two before we went into lockdown. So,
okay.
So, I mean, we kind of just had to just roll with the punches and figure out how to navigate the new business landscape, I guess. And as for the third store, we did undertake the project during COVID, but I guess it was just it was always the plan, and we just had to make the necessary adjustments along the way. And I guess we survived, so it's it's good.
No, and it'll only get better, obviously, as things start opening up, and some normalcy is returning now. And I guess just to kind of switch gears here a little bit in terms of yourself and kind of your day to day in terms of everything and with the business and everything and the operations that you do, what's been kind of like your biggest obstacle so far in the last 3-ish years, a little over 3 years that you've been kind of doing this?
Well, I think it would, I mean, I know this is kind of back to COVID, but at the end of the day, like, these food delivery platforms, like, Skip the Dishes, Uber Eats, all of these companies, like, we were working with them before COVID, and they would account for maybe like 30 to 50% of our sales. But as soon as COVID hit, it was, maybe 90% of our sales or something were through these platforms, right? And the thing about them is, even though they're great for, helping you find new customers and, delivering your food and stuff like that, they charged a really high commission rate, right? So on Uber Eats, they actually charged, back then it was 30%, right? So if you order a $20 poke bowl, then $6 actually goes straight to Uber, right? And then for the restaurant, like, that doesn't really leave you with any profits, right? It just like, after you cover all of your overheads and your staffing and your food costs, it's like, in some cases you even lose money, right? Because 30% is really a lot. So it was interesting to see the sales volume stay pretty much consistent, but like, profit wise, it was terrible, right? And we were just barely struggling to keep the doors open. So even though we were busy, it was like kind of we were just working for Uber, right? At that point.
That point.
So but I mean, like, the good thing is, through the entire pandemic, we didn't have to lay off anybody. We were able to keep all of our staff and team, and so that was probably the biggest benefit to all of that, is people had jobs. So
that is something that, unfortunately, not everyone could say in the last, year and a bit that we've been in this situation. But I'm going to go into more of a positive note here and ask you the question that I've been wondering for a while. Obviously, being the CEO, what is your favorite food item, like, from the restaurant? Like, what's your go-to order? I'm curious. I'm sure the listeners are curious too. You got to have a favorite, probably, right?
Well, this might be a little bit of a left field answer, but I actually really like the beefy bowl. So that what the beefy bowl is it's kind of like Japanese like gyudon.
Mm-hmm.
So like I don't know if you've heard of like like Yoshinoya or like those that kind of brand. So it's basically
Okay.
just like cooked beef on rice. And
Mm-hmm.
we actually added this item to our menu because we had a lot of people asking us for cooked food.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, of course, people love sashimi, they love raw fish, and that's why poke is popular. But there's often like if there's a group of friends, then there'll be like one person who's like, oh, I'm not so down for the raw fish, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
they'll be
There's
like, hey,
always
you
that
guys have
one
any?
person in the friend group.
Yeah,
Seafood, raw
exactly.
fish, not for me.
Yeah, exactly, right? So we had worked on this with our chefs, and it actually was trickier than we thought it would be to get it just how we wanted to be, like
Mm-hmm.
as close to in Japan, right? But we yeah, it's pretty good now, and I'm a big meat eater personally. So like
Okay.
on some days I'll definitely go for the poke, get some raw fish and all that, but for the most part I'm going to be craving some beef,
Yeah.
so that's why that's my go-to item, I would say.
No, that sounds good.
Yeah.
And actually, for following up on that, like in terms of the creativity and how you spawn, different food items, and you mentioned you had a couple of different bowls and stuff like that, and obviously the new one that you, or not the new one, but the beef version that you just brought up right now. What's kind of the creativity or the inspiration? Like, do you and Victor and the rest of the team kind of brainstorm? Does Victor come up with the ideas? Kind of how do new potential food items come out and play in terms of your stores?
Well, I think there's no set method really. It's just
Mm-hmm.
kind of because like Victor is the like I said the main chef, right? But I also love to cook as a hobby. Um,
Right.
and that actually he's the one who taught me to cook so many years ago. But since then, I've enjoyed to cook as a hobby. And Kenny also, he came from a restaurant background. He went to VCC, I think it was, and yeah, and he worked in a few different restaurants too. So it's kind of like, if we have an idea, like any of us, we might like, test it out. We'll send like samples between like friends and family, and then we'll kind of get some feedback, and then yeah, if the feedback's good, then we'll throw it on the menu and see how it does, right? And
Yeah.
so
Has there been one item that, maybe you could share with us that was, potential contender, but kind of at the end of the day didn't go through to the actual, to the product line, so to speak?
hmm, well, I think like for the most part, things usually get their day in the sun. Like even like it like
Usually.
yeah like and the reason why I wouldn't want to mention anything that hasn't made it yet is because it might still make it in the future, like
Okay.
because
Fair
we have a
enough.
couple of ideas that were kind of almost there but not quite, right? But
For sure.
there were some things that we put out, and then nobody was buying them, so we took them took them
Yeah.
down, right? Like we used to have a happy bowl, and that was like our kids meal thing.
Hmm.
But yeah, nobody was ordering it. I guess even kids, they
You
like
kids,
to
they get the full medium sized. Yeah. They don't want no
yeah,
kids
and
meal.
they like sashimi and stuff too. Like when I was a kid, or when like a lot of my friends and stuff, they'd be like, oh, what's that? You gross, I can't eat that, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
days, kids are like, oh yeah, I'll have the salmon sashimi. They're like 8 7 8 years old, so there was, I guess, just no real need for a kid friendly option because it's all kid friendly apparently. So
Yeah. No, that maybe the parents buy and then they eat all the sashimi and then they just give the kids the rice or something. Who knows? But hey, if
yeah,
they're
maybe, yeah.
if they're buying it, they're buying it. No, that makes sense, man. Yeah, we'll keep an eye out in terms of the new items and stuff like that, and see what pops up for yourself. Obviously, navigating this pandemic and going through the last year and a half, and as you mentioned as well, the lower in profits and just things in general that have happened for businesses. What's been kind of your outlook now when it comes to the the community, I guess? Because the one thing that definitely spawned a lot, at least from what I've seen, and maybe you've seen as well, is the support local. A lot of people supporting local businesses, mom and pop shops, etc. What's been kind of your outlook on that in terms of the support that the community has given, and how you think moving forward, as we step away from this pandemic, that will potentially be again the new customers that you've gotten through the time that you've had?
Well, I mean, like when it comes to the community, like we've always believed in getting involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
So before the pandemic hit, we were actively looking for ways that we could give back to the community. So like,
Right.
there would be some like public school festivals, or maybe like events organized by the community center, or for any type of reason, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we would be there to show our support. We would be giving away free food at these events, and we just wanted to get involved, right? And
Mm-hmm.
show that we cared, right? And when COVID hit, then obviously we weren't expecting any of this, but when we heard all of these outcries to support local, and people supported us, right? And we were very thankful for that, because like I said, it's part of the reason why we're still here today, is because of all the community effort to support us, right? And other businesses like us. So we do appreciate it very much.
Yeah. No, that's awesome to hear. And I think as well, like I think the community realizes that and sees as well, like the support that, as you said, pre-COVID and even before that, you were given back to the community from beginnings. And I think a lot of people see that and like take that to account, not necessarily for the decisions, but just as a way of like, maybe even going out to eat once a week. And obviously from at that time, when peak of COVID, where it was difficult to even leave your house, without kind of getting looked at of like, what's this person doing out of the, this person doing outside, right?
Yeah.
I still remember that in like early, March or April, May of last year, you'd be outside and people would be like, whoa, you left your house, you've entering the twilight zone almost. But no, and it's important, I think, especially with Vancouver and the surrounding cities, Lower Mainland in general. And obviously one of the reasons why I enjoy having this podcast is because I get to chat with these people that are supporting, at the end of the day, the infrastructure that that Vancouver is made up, restaurants, creatives, other entrepreneurs, other business owners, etc., that really keep the economy going and give jobs, as you said, to people locally and everything along those lines. So I'm hopefully that this podcast is just a small part of that equation, obviously. But able to share those stories, I think, is what's super important. And speaking about sharing, their stories and everything like that, what's been kind of, you see yourself maybe in the next 2, 3, 4 years, maybe opening more restaurants, like what are the next steps, without maybe revealing too much information if there's, some NDAs or confidential stuff, but what's kind of the next steps for you and the business?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely open to the possibility of expanding Pokey Okey. See what's available in terms of locations and stuff like that, and maybe a little bit further out we might look at branching into some other concepts as well. We aren't sure exactly when or what that might be, but we have a few different ideas in the pipeline. And because I mentioned that I like to eat a lot of meat, so we might do something a little more specialized in that, because
Right.
we experimented a little bit with it in Pokey Okey, and then now we're thinking like, oh, maybe we can maybe make this its own thing or something. So we'll see where we go with that, but it's exciting.
Yeah, I can imagine. And as well, like experimenting and trying different things. And I think that's, what's exciting about doing your own thing, right? And having your own business and testing out different products and just seeing what works, what doesn't work. And again, at the end of the day, you can always go back to the drawing board and figure new things out if need be. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm sure the listeners are as well. Well, nearing the end of our podcast episode here, unfortunately, again, I'm over 60 episodes in, and I'm still surprised at how quickly these things go. And I'm just like, wow, it's already that time.
Yeah, actually,
just goes to show maybe this is a good thing that the conversations are flowing and everything like that. But near the end, as I mentioned again before we started recording here, is the ending question, or the final question, I should say, that I have for all my guests is, what piece of advice would you give to your younger self and why? And this can be, Jonathan from yesterday or Jonathan from 5 years ago. It doesn't matter, but just one piece of advice and why.
Yeah, so I mean, this isn't really anything business related per se, but
doesn't have to
be. I would say to look after my health a little more.
Okay.
because like I'm in pretty good shape now. I've been trying to exercise and eat a little better and stuff, but you know, for many years I didn't do any kind of, you know, like I just didn't care, right? Like
Yeah.
when I'm young, I was just like, um, I'm gonna live forever. I'm gonna be healthy all the time. I don't care. It's gonna be fine, right? And then, you know, and then now when I'm, you know, I just turned 30, and then I was like starting to feel a little bit, you know, more tired. I can't, you know,
Some knee pain, maybe.
yeah, knee pain, back pain, you name it, you know, I got
Yeah.
it. So and I was thinking like, hey, you know, I might not hold up for so long if I don't start looking out for myself. But if I'd started, you know, exercising and eating better maybe 5 years ago, then I would be even healthier now, right? So I'm sure it's going to be fine, but it's definitely something that I wish my younger self had done. It's like uh yeah.
No, for sure. And thank
Yeah.
you for sharing that. A lot of the times, yeah, people do share more like
Mm,
personal advice or more like on the like business side of things, but by no
mm,
means does that have to be business related. It's just
mm,
an open-ended question as to, you know, whatever people
mm,
decide that they wish they told their younger self. And, you know, I'm sure for hopefully a lot of our listeners, which is more on the younger demographic, you know,
mm,
17, 18, young adults, so to speak,
mm.
make sure to exercise out there. And, you know, even if it's just walking around the park and on a beautiful sunny day, well, maybe not today actually, because it's, you know, almost 40 degrees, but on a less warmer day, when it's more normal temperatures, just go out for walks and just, especially now, you know, we're working from home and looking at screens more than ever, probably now. So
Mm.
just take the time to disconnect and yeah, just get some exercise in there. If
Actually,
there's anything I
something.
learned,
Oh
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, something I was gonna add is usually people who don't exercise, they'll always say that I don't have time, right? But
Mm-hmm.
what I learned when I actually started to do it is um, maybe you'll spend an hour or 30 minutes out of your day to exercise, but all of the other hours you will actually get more done
Yeah.
because you'll be more focused, you'll have more energy, and it actually pays itself back in terms of the
Mm-hmm.
time you spend. So that's what I would, you know, recommend to think about, you know, for any of the listeners, I guess.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
exactly. And I can totally relate. I actually just started going to the gym in the morning now and before work,
Yeah.
which is, you know, technically I'm losing an hour of sleep or something like
Yeah.
that. But
Mm,
I'm starting my day a lot more focused. Got it. Like, I don't need coffee or anything to wake up. It's just,
mm,
you know, that's kind of my energy boost. And, you know, between when I start working at 9, it's just go, go, go. And I definitely get a lot more work done and a little bit more productive when it comes to that after a nice morning workout. So
yeah.
I can,
Yeah.
I'm the example of what Jonathan's trying to say here. It works. It works. It really does. So
Well,
thank
thank you
you.
for the support. Yeah.
Anytime, anytime. But thank you for
Mm,
coming on the show,
mm.
for sharing your story, sharing a little bit more about what's going on in your life and with Pokey Okey. So it's going to be now 30 seconds, not really 30 seconds. You can take as long as you want, but any shout outs, any plugs, this is your balls in your court. Go for it.
I mean, I got my shout outs in for the most part. But yeah, I'll just shout out to Aaron, I guess. Thanks so much
Oh,
for
no
letting me be
worries.
on the show. And it's always fun to chat and to, you know, talk a little bit about what makes us us. So yeah, I'm very
Hmm.
thankful for the opportunity.
And where can they find you on socials if they want to check out, you know, any kind of so I've seen the Instagram and it's very, very nice, and the website as well. So where
Yeah,
can
I
they
mean,
find you?
yeah, we're on Pokey Okey YVR on Instagram, and then you can find us also at pokeyoki.com. And I think we're also on YouTube, but I think that should be Pokey Okey YVR as well.
Sounds good. I'll put all
Yeah.
all the description, or sorry, all the links and channels and everything like that in description below if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're listening, I'll put it in the podcast description as well. Thank you again, Jonathan. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your story. I'm a customer of yours, and I can attest again to the wonderful food that's
Well,
why I
thank
was
you.
really excited when I got you. I was like, yes. So thank you for being a staple in I live in Richmond, so the Richmond location I go to rather often. So thank you for being a staple in our community and for creating an amazing space for not just to eat, but also to just spend time with one another and have the doors open for people who want to join in. So thank you again. Thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in. This once again was episode number 61 of Beneath Vancouver Radio. Just again, a quick shout out to everyone who's tuned in from episodes, honestly, 1 and upwards. Thank you for all your support. Again, if you are a new listener, either from Jonathan's Circle or for anything along those matters, we do have both an audio and video version of the podcast. So whichever you'd prefer, all available on beneathvancouver.com. You can check out more details as well. So thank you again. Have a wonderful rest of your day and take care.
Thanks, Aaron. Cheers.